Ah, hello all, I'm Hometown Game and welcome back to CarX Drift Racing Online. Now, we're unofficially on update 2.17.0, no hotfix yet, which I imagine there's probably going to be some of those coming around at some point. But, well, I'm here to provide today, and pretty much anyone getting started on this, getting started on CarX Drift Racing Online, any newcomers, the rookies, the amateurs, and the struggling and, well, pretty much, the down under, the underdogs. On how to get started in CarX Drift Racing Online, this time with under version 2.17's latest additions. Vehicles, and the modification workshop, which we'll get to that shortly. For those who are totally new to this, welcome to the funhouse. But this game can be intimidating at first, all things considered. Just looking at the car, enough may just make you scratch your head like, how do I do this? How do I get involved with this? Now, your first car, obviously, could be one of three. As we go into the garage and catalog, it will be the Hachiroku, the Panther M590S, and the VZ210 will be your first three free cars. Now, if any veterans are watching this, I want you to share this video for someone you know who is just now getting started with CarX Drift Racing Online. And trust me, I was baffled when I first started playing back in 2020, y'all. Don't feel bad. But since my first car was literally this, the Hachiroku, we will be using that as a testing example for today. Now, let's see. If you want to be able to drift the thing, you can do the, well, it's factory look, but you only have the options between that are available to you will be stock and drift. Now, it'd be smart to invest your money into this modification first, as per se. Once you have that purchased and unlocked and available for use, well, let's see here. Let's get on to the multiplayer to go to modification workshop. As I'm not the only one that does this. There are literally thousands of hundreds of tunes for this car already. But since you only have access to the drift modification setup, it'd be smart to go to filters, which on the PlayStation will be the square button. Go to the profiling, select drift. Rear adhesion could be, well, anything you like, but for my setups I run nothing but 100 adhesion. Or you could set ratings, downloads, but, it's not hard. Just drift and wheel adhesion 100%. And mine will show up amongst that pile of short listings. Now, it's only got 14 on it because, well, you obviously see the numbers. I mean, the publication code for my tune specifically is right there, unless you want to try and use everyone else's, which may, well, vary. Depends how legit you want your car to look and height and wheel and tire size and all. I usually go pretty accurate with certain, styles, especially when it comes to old school JDM cars like this. Now, after that, if you have my publication tune, go ahead and type that into the code by pressing down the right stick on the PlayStation controller. If you're using the PlayStation controller, Xbox, you're going to have to figure it out, so bear with me. As said. Now, I ain't going to do that because, like I say, I already made the tune myself as the one I've uploaded. Once you acquire that tune, you need to go and install it. Which you could do it in the modification workshop itself, or be safe to say you go to your manufacturing menus, back to mods and swaps, and you can select the tune that you picked up out of the shop. Like I say, if you were to pick up mine, the Shine Moon spec, go ahead and install that, and everything's preset and ready to go on the car. Alright. Once you do that, you're probably going to be a little hard pressed for cash to do anything what I've done with mine. Well, livery designs are free, so livery designing is free, just the paint jobs are priced, which is interesting. Oh, there's my Pro Car design. Anyways, We're here to keep it simple, stupid. Now, for your first race, we'll be well, you can go either or, but the tune that you're going to be selecting will be for drifting. So time attack's out of the question for the time being. Doesn't mean it's not. You probably can find someone else for that. The first race event will be at the parking A. Now, if you do well, actually, let's back it up just a titch here. Let's go into training first. And whatever track you have available to you will be, you know, open and not priced out. Since I've been playing for the last 2-3 years, I got practically everything. So we'll go to parking A to keep it, well, relative. It'd be smart to get a grip on how the handling system works, because it doesn't look like a typical hardcore sim racers like Gran Turismo or Assetto Corsa. Especially Assetto Corsa. That's like not driftable on a controller unless you got a mod on PC. Other than that, you're screwed for consoles. But here, it pretty much does most of the work for you. I'm not really a fan of this engine sound. It just does not sound right to me. But off we go. Now when you're drifting, all you gotta do is just guide this thing where you want to go. If I were to be going right while drifting right, you just pretty much point your stick to the right, or there's many different ways you can use your sticks on your controllers. Ty Skids does the forward and roll, which I can't really do very well. I'm so used to running straight across it, it's not even funny. But other than that, it's not hard to get into drifting. It's just as much angle as this steering angle thing's got, I could go well and beyond, but you start dancing on the edge of the metaphorical knife if you do, and risk spinning out like so. But if you could get it just right, you could do a reverse entry, or mega backwards, or a backwards entry. Now, if you're also wondering why there ain't no score counter, I got mine turned off. But plus, on top of that thing, that score counter will also tell you what action of a drift you're doing. And also, side note, I am driving manual gearbox with manual clutch, which I will show you how to set that up here in a moment if you wish so desire, but it'd be smart to practice with manual gearbox with automatic clutch for the time being. Especially if you don't want to deal with your car getting stalled out like so. In other words, you're going to have to set up your starter button and power button, which I got my power button set to triangle, and my button to start the vehicle on, well, the right stick. Just pressing out on that. Now, there will be a slight conflict if you were to use the right stick in multiplayer. It's just a little... I'll show you a little bit in a little bit as well. But that's the basics of how this game behaves in drifting. Now, for the controller setup I use, it's pretty similar to Wreckfest when it comes to, you know, where the button placements are. As you go into press start, go into options if you're going to be in the game, so why not start here, right? So that way you can make sure and everything's set and dandy in training mode. Customize. Now you got your usual stuff here. The also good thing about this game, if you got a controller that has worn out triggers, you can calibrate your controller, such as if your accelerator is only working halfway, which thank Jesus that the controller I'm using has fantastically good triggers, even though this thing's been dropped on its head so many times it should be dead. But with the calibration system, you can see how much actual pressure you have on the controller that is actually still there. At least thank goodness with mine, it's still got 1000%. But if you had issues where it's only hitting here or If you go any lower than half, your controller might as well be tossed in the trash can. But if it's hanging around here, you can start calibration and have it set to where it's safe around 8, say like 8 around here. And you press all the way down, it's technically matching a fully set pressure zone that you set on the calibration. But since I don't need to do that, but it'd be safe to be smart to do so, because that would always be the trigger that gets wore out first. It's your accelerator trigger. Since I don't need to do that because my triggers are still good, I'll just leave it at 1000. Now I do have a weird issue with my way I drive my left stick for the steering, because I go like negative 99, 991, and completely 1000 to the right. That's just how I drive. I'm slightly cattywampus. Well, it means going left sometimes, as you can see here. But that shouldn't affect you any. Now that's your typical stuff. I got my clutch set to L1, so that way you can free rev it. Now when you really think about where your fingers are going to be sitting on your controller, you need it where it be efficient as possible. Flashers, that's for the police lights, for the 3 vehicles that have the police, but that have the police kit, which is under free DLC for Interceptor, the Judge, and the Cobra. Not to get confused with the Cobra GT350 or the 530 here in this game. That's later on down the car list. I put my next camera in R1, because you're not going to be changing your camera views often. To restore a car or reset it back on track, I put it on my touchpad. That would be something else for Xbox. You have to consult on your controller you're using for that. My next gear is a square button. Also, you gotta consult to your Xbox controller or pull up a diagram of a PlayStation controller to match to your, well, Xbox, to where buttons are set. And my previous gear, set to the X, also refer to your own controller and whatever diagram you have on hand. Now for the engine related stuff, and also my headlights. Steering wheel indicator, what? That's a new one. I'll have to look into that. I'd never seen that before. Like, what in the hell? Anyways, that's probably for... Why would that be on the controller, though? I'll have to look at that. Or we can do that right now. Anyways, getting off track. You do not mess with any of these. Those are for multiplayer. If you do, you're going to have problems, because you won't be able to create, join, look at race stats, and do spectating, which I will show you later on that. Or do your votes, because there's a lot of trolls in this game that like to use a Lamborghini as a ramp car. And I suggest you don't be that kind of dick, unless you really want to get booted from this game, because no one likes that. Now for my lights, I got on my left stick. Depending on how your left stick is, if it's super sensitive to even the slightest of presses, I would not suggest using this, because you'll just be flashing them on and on like my homeboy does from time to time. Now my ignition set to the triangle button, or whatever your button identification is on your Xbox controller, or, well, even the most latest edition of Thrustmaster controllers. And my starter's on my right stick. Now it'd probably be smart to swap the starter with your lights, depending upon, well, like I said, your left stick's sensitivity issues on pressures. Because your right stick, you'll just be looking left, right, up, left, right, left or right anyways, or looking behind you. Excuse me. Now, what is this little devil here? You know what? I am going to... Oh, okay. Well, good to know. Huh. Well, we all just learned something new together. That should show where my steering wheel indicator is. Or at least toggle it on and off. No, I'm going to leave that on. That's weird. Learn something new every day. Okay, I'm going to reset my buttons back to my light. Which is also a good thing you could do if you want to run police lights. You probably better have something set up for those also. But if you're just going to be running manual gearbox with automatic clutch, it'd probably be smart to use my starter button for that. But no one really uses the police skins per se unless you're really trying to organize a game of cops and robbers, but that's besides the point. Oh, speaking of advanced settings. That was a weird noise I heard. Anyways, like I said, I got my gearbox set to manual. My clutch also set to manual. There will be some cars that shift really slow with the automatic clutch. One of them, for example, is the Canadude, or the Datsun 510 pickup, as it's accurately known. Now, there are different controller types, such as, well, for those on PC that have the mouse and keyboard setup. There's us with the controller, which 9 times out of 10 you're going to need this on. Actually, no, 10 times out of 10 you're going to need this on, unless you're going to be really trying to practice with that, which, more power to you. But I highly recommend for those getting started to leave this on. And my steering linearity is maxed out with my accelerator and brake linearity at like 0.5 for more, I guess you could say, throttle and braking adjustability. The rest of these, well, it depends how bad your stick drift is. You might want to increase this, but that depends. Let's see. Anything else I need to go over? The rest of this you probably figure out yourself. Oh, graphics, yes. I usually have my FOV set to 65 both here in cockpit, because I do drift cockpit from time to time only if someone's leading. If I'm doing the lead, no. If I ain't got no rear view mirrors, then this game does not have FOV mirrors at all. It's just reflections, that's it. But it's also smart to set your smoke density of nearby cars, which is highly recommended, to at least 0.20 or less. But it looks still decent enough and not weird at like 0.18. Sounds, you can figure it out for yourself. I got that control sound effects thing for PlayStation controllers turned off, especially if you're on PlayStation. It's kind of pointless. I don't know why they done that, but still. Now that's all set and done, and you got your practice in. That's so weird how I did not. Now I just now discovered that. Anyways. Let's get into an official event and show you how much money you can make in one lick if you don't screw up and you run wide lines. Yes, that is a little K-truck in the background. I will show you that at the end of the video if I remember. If not, that's kind of an oh well situation. But you want to know another thing about the mods and swaps. The tune that you pick up, you still can make your own tweaks and adjustments if necessary. Especially for those first timers, it is recommended to drift 90 adhesion, because that's like trainee wheels. And some of these guys, for whatever reason, guys and gals, I ain't got to say, guys, gals, and everyone in between. God, I'm probably might as well shoot myself in the foot and get canceled for saying that, but still, we all know. We all know. Whatever you identify as. 90 adhesion is the best way to get started for training overall, but they say it's the most hardest adhesion to drift on. Is it really? I drifted a 1100 horsepower Corvettes on this, like, quite a few times. It's just a rev fest. That's all it is. And my Spotify quit working. Lovely. Give me a moment. Oh, if you all have Spotify in your console systems, just for whatever reason, just so you know, it's been breaking a lot lately. For me, at least. Have my non-lyrical music going on in the background, and this happens every time. Anyway, back to what I was saying. 90 adhesion probably your best start for, as a learner's permit. After that, 100 adhesion is usually the maximum. Anything higher is usually grip. 110 is like in between, like higher grip, pro drift levels, and 120 adhesions. People still drift it, but it's more track oriented, like time attack. But for this setup, I have learned to drive on 100 adhesion right off the rip. It's not hard to do, especially with these tire pressures. It's not really much difference between a 90 adhesion low tire pressure setup. Not by much. But once you make that 90 adhesion check, if you so wish and desire to use, let's go make a little bit of money. I have done a, for those getting started before, which is like 2.15 I believe, but anything after that till now was not really noteworthy. Not really much difference. Alright. If you do well on these little events here, especially your very first one, you manage to get well past your, like, beyond 12,000 drift points, which should not be too hard if you practice enough on the same track in training mode to get a feel for it. You should be able to make a pretty decent score. Make sure you hit your lines as wide as you can without screwing up. Otherwise, hitting the outside lines, get as close to the wall as you can, because if you do, it will give you a kiss the wall maneuver. You will see that if I could get close enough. See? Now that's a tap. For a while they didn't reward that. That was back in like late 2020, early 2021 stuff, but they now do it as like 150 drift points, but you do that consecutively, don't hit that. That thing likes to stick out there and snatch you. Now I've went well past my drift score. If you see at the top right of the screen, I've checked all the boxes pretty much. Now it's just a matter of how far you want to bury it, which I recommend you just absolutely bury it. As you see my personal best. Now, I probably would have done better, because when I'm quiet and concentrated, I usually do, like, phenomenal result. At least decent enough results to be called phenomenal, or, like, damn. Now, look at that cash reward at the very bottom of the screen. $175,000. Not bad for a lick, eh? Especially if it depends how far you want to bury that drift score. Damn notifications. Anyways. If you bury that drift score deep enough, you get a pretty decent payout for your first race. Or first drift event. Time attack doesn't really give you as much, so it's not really good at all, but it's a start. Doing these are money makers, but there are... You probably look up YouTube videos on easy money glitches, which is not hard to do, but you won't be able to have access to those certain vehicles and courses just yet, because they most likely might be level locked or too expensive. This will get you started. Or if you want to move away from the Hachiroku into something a bit more angle capable, I can show you that as well. But if you also notice, there's like one engine thing, an engine icon with the number 1 underneath it. That is a swap part, and that is for the 3.0. And if you do enough of these events, you'll be able to get 5 parts. You'll be able to swap a 3.0 into whatever car you want. But you have to grind out the parts to do more cars. And the more, I would say, the more higher end the swaps are, the more higher end the swaps are, the more difficult tests there are. 2 of them are related to the top 32, which I wouldn't really recommend if you're just getting started. Such as the 7-liter V8 and the 6.2-liter V8. Now, there's 2 ways to get those in a slightly easier setting, but the 6.2 requires precise driving. And the 3.8-liter V6 twin turbo also in the game if you were to have the ultimate upgrade. on to access the swaps, you either get top 16 and top 32, or do single player tandems and score, I believe, a 165 or higher. Which I have done a couple videos in the past with a couple of tandems on that, if you were to peruse my previous videos. I think the ones I did were during the 2.16 version. Both the Hachiroku and Hachigo going at it on the map, and 2 different Nissan Zs, but that's besides the point. Alright, back to reality here. Now, if you want to continue to use this car, you can, well, pretty much pretty it up in the body kits and wheels and tire shop, anyways. It would probably be smart to go the cheap route and do this one. And do it all yourself using individual parts, but you won't get the wide body you might want, such as, oh, say, R&T or Missile. I like the R&T one better for my pro car, but that's besides the point. Now, I do have my tire layerings blacked out because some of them don't look good with colored layering at all. Others do, others don't. Depends what you're going for. Which you can repaint those so the car you like. And the rims, well, they've been significantly changed for us who's been around for a while, but now you know which ones to... Wait, are these on their street? There's no flipping way. Nope, didn't think so. I think they're deep dish or... Hold on. I just now realized they're a Japan Classics, if I'm right. Yep, right here. The wheels I'm using are, yeah, Japan Classics. I had Kyushas, if I've seen that right, but that's besides the point. You do your body kits whatever you like there. Probably do that a few more times. Do these a few more times, or you grab one of the other cars. The one I wouldn't recommend going past this point. If you want something more angle capable on the cheap, I go past these and past the VZ210 and start looking through here. Which I also do have drift modification tools for those as well. Just look for the name Shine Moon spec when you're filtering for drift category. Now, for the multiplayer side of things, if you want, if after you feel comfortable enough with your drifting, not say this thing's gonna be a drift monster, but big but. You can still get out there and get sideways with some of the others that run slower tunes, which is not as common as you would think. Because there are guys out there that do ultimate upgrades, but only have cars like this, say, make like 200 to 300 horsepower. Just because it's... people experiment with things. It's quite wild. Now, like I said, top 32s is not recommended for anyone that's only been on the game for less than 5 minutes, let alone a year. But in due time, you can figure stuff out like this. But, big but. Let's get into a room list. And let's see if I can find some good examples. I wonder who's playing online right now. Let me look real quick. Also, side note, if you got friends playing in the game and you see a green 2 driver's icons next, a driver's icon like that, that means a friend is also in the session with you. Now, it's only for your, you know, if they're on the same platform as you. I'm hoping one of these days CarX does a CarX friends list, because not everyone's got, well, if there's a CarX friends list, you can be friends with PC players and other players of other different platforms. And yes, and Nintendo Switch has this game on Switch, which I will be honest, I'm surprised that little thing has not exploded from these kinds of games. Hell, I'll even throw this out there. I'm surprised SnowRunner hasn't detonated those little things yet. So they must be pretty potatoed, if you ask me. But that's besides the point. Tolerance. Just off the walls, just off out the side of my out the side of my face hole. Now, let's use Common Road for example here. Now, as you're learning to multiplayer, say like County Road, because this is a mountain road, there's only one way up, and it's like a point-to-point kind of map. Start at the top of the mountain, you drift your way down towards the bottom of it, or run a time attack on it. But that's besides the point. It'd be smart not to just go blazing off right away. Now, if we press our right stick, which is also where my starter's set up, you look at those. You have your drift contest, which is your up directional. Join a contest, which is your down directional. Your voting system for who you want to kick or straight up ban, which I don't know why there's a kick function here to begin with, when most of them need to be banned anyways, especially if they're a worthless troll. Voting on a map. Change the time of day, change the shading, and what we're in right now is the noon shading for County Road. And then there's statistics, which is your left directional button. As you can see here, it brings us the statistics on who's in the room. Now, if you go to select someone, you press X to watch them. Oof, that's already not a good example. Nevertheless, you can spectate other players and see where they're at on, mountain maps, so that way you're not making an utter fool of yourself. Since they're towards the bottom, pretty well at the bottom, I don't see anyone coming up. Well, scratch that. There's that poor soul. He is, I wouldn't say new exactly, but God only knows how long he's been around. I'd give him a solid week at least. Actually, no, I take that back. If it's been a week, they probably would have been away from this car already. Actually, no, I take that back again. Then they only been in here barely a week. But yeah, no. So that way you don't make a fool of yourself on certain maps like this and end up running into people. But if you do, you just press your reset, and the collisions between you and the rest of the players are disabled for 15 seconds. And after the 15 seconds, well, collisions re-enabled for you. Now, with that little tidbit out of the way, because I've seen people be still absolutely stupid about it, even though we're like a month in, they still act like incomplete rooks. Now, on some maps like County Road, as far as I know, County Road is the only one with, side roads that hardly anyone uses, and there's one right there that is not officially part of, the single-player map, because God only knows why. They only do, like, certain links and not do what they do in the mobile versions, and give us sectors to play with, other than single-player Tandem XCS. If they're eventually going to be making a way back up the mountain, it'd be smart to go to the side routes. Yeah, right back at you, bud. Whoa, okay. Yeah. I mean, this thing still drifts decently. It's just a 53 degrees of maximum steering angles and not the greatest. I wish they would set it at least 55. Especially if it's going to be a starting car. CarX Tech, I'm looking at you. Anyways. So that way you're not running into people and you're getting your scoring, but you won't be scoring. You won't be making as much money in a multiplayer. Let's be honest. At least not right off the rip. Because single player events, they have multipliers, especially when you complete it and exceed it. Exceed the scores or set times, which their times are set for literally like 5, 10, 20 minutes for such a small course, for like tiny courses such as West Costa Rica. It's not even funny. Excuse me. Yep. Hence why I went to... Yeah, don't be this guy or gal. Because you're just gonna end up making a fool of yourself. And make yourself look like a total a-hole. Like that. That's just how the cookie crumbles. If you want to make yourself look like an idiot, do that. But yeah, that's the how to get started around here. Now, let's see if I remember what else was I gonna do. Ah, yes, K-Truck. The most ridiculous thing that I like to think those have been at least giving my Shine Moon spec builds pretty much a fair amount of attention, but I am baffled with what I've witnessed recently with the CarX Drift modification tune. I kid you not, I did not think it would get this much attention. And it's rated 5 stars too. And there. Look at that. That is a 90 adhesion build with 718 downloads, and this thing only makes like 100 horsepower. Y'all are some... You make me want to question my sanity on what the hell have I created to have this much attention. To those who follow me enough to find my modification tunes for getting started since like the mid days of 2.16, because no one has a monopoly in this. Very few actually share it. I'm the one that shared it on YouTube as far as I know. But if you want the publication code for that, no, I'm just gonna put it on and show you why I don't use it, because it's stock, it's turbo. Its stock version, its turbo version, does not like to stay idling. And this is the same problem. Oh. Oh, do I want to do that? Not. Down stand. Make this less painful. Like, you literally have to pedal this thing to keep it running. I'm not sure if it's like, well, then again, I still stick it in neutral, it still dies. You'll see here in a moment. It will absolutely just stumble on its face idling. And dead. Start it back up again. See what I mean? 108 horsepower of 3-banger fury. And like I said, I don't get you people that actually, the 718 people that downloaded this. Y'all are animals. I mean, it still drifts, which is amazing that what I've done. Just not going to be the fastest thing on the block. I don't get how United Adhesion guys can run this and get away with it. Hats off to you though, but that's the point. That's just astounding to me. And this little truck only costs $50,000, so if y'all want to rock this little thing, be my guest. But it'd be wise to find some decent ultimate tunes that are very capable and not be like this, or have better drift modification tunes than mine, because this is like not bad, but this thing's only making like 108 horsepower on a little Toyota 3-banger and a little micro truck. Imagine I can't quite say Toyota, but a Daihatsu, a Toyota, a Mitsubishi, a Honda, a Subaru. I mean, they all use them. Suzuki, they all use the little micro truck platform. They're all literally the same. It's just they got different badges and somewhat front end slapped together. Everything else, chassis and everything, probably engine too, are just like literally the same from each other. Or say swappable too, but that's kind of pushing the envelope there. But hopefully y'all who has found this who are just getting started found this extremely helpful, and those who are been around my channel for a while and seeing this, share with your friends that are just wanting to get into this game but don't know where to start. Until then, y'all have a fantastic day and maybe a week if I'm not making another video for the rest of the week, which probably won't, because there's not really much point unless I share my. Well, then I did make it easy for everyone to find my drift modifications. Just look for the Shine Moon spec and drift filters and shit. All 100 adhesion except for this little bugger. Y'all have a fantastic day, and remember, obey your local traffic laws.